Captain Dex walked across the metal floor of his ship. His long, scaled tail dragged behind him as he moved. The lights on the bridge cast green shadows on his lizard-like face. Today had been a good day for raiding. His ship, the Void Reaper, was full of stolen goods and captured aliens. "Show me what we got," Dex said to his science officer, Krau. Krau's yellow eyes glowed with excitement. He pulled up images on the big screen. "Captain, look at this. We found something special on that colony planet." The screen showed cages full of different alien creatures. Most were the usual types they sold on the black market. But one cage held something different. It was a small pale creature with no scales or fur. It had long dark hair and wore strange, colorful clothes. "What is that thing?" Dex asked. "I don't know, Captain. But look at its hands. 5 fingers, just like some of the old stories. And its eyes. They're so strange. Not like any creature I've seen before." Dex studied the image. The small creature sat in the corner of its cage, holding what looked like a green toy animal. Its eyes were wet, like it had been crying. "How much do you think we can get for it?" Dex asked. "A lot, Captain. The collectors on Vex Prime pay big money for rare species. This could be worth more than everything else we took today." Down in the cargo hold, 8-year-old Emma Rodriguez sat in her cage and hugged her stuffed dinosaur tighter. She was scared, but she tried to remember what her daddy always told her. "Be brave, little soldier. Marines don't give up, even when things look bad." The cage was cold and smelled like old metal. Strange sounds came from other cages around her. She could hear other creatures making sad noises. Some sounded like they were crying too. Emma didn't understand why the lizard people had taken her. She was just playing on the swings when they came. Big ships had landed in her town, and scary aliens with guns had grabbed her and other kids. But the aliens had left the other human children behind. They only took her. "I want my daddy," she whispered to her toy dinosaur. "He'll come find me. Daddy always comes home." On the bridge, Dex's second-in-command, Vex, was checking the raid reports. Vex was older than the other crew members. He had been raiding for many years and knew how to spot trouble before it found them. Something about today's raid bothered him. The colony had been too easy to attack. Usually, settlements on the edge of space had better defenses. But this place had almost no military protection at all. Vex pulled up the colony's data files. His blood went cold as he read the information on his screen. The colony's name was New Harmony. The registration showed it belonged to a species called humans. "No," Vex whispered. "Oh, no. He had heard stories about humans. Every pirate in the galaxy had heard the stories. Humans were not like other species. They were crazy when it came to protecting their young. They would burn down whole star systems to save one of their children. But those were just stories, right? Legends that pirates told each other to scare new crew members. Humans were supposed to be primitive creatures from a small planet far away." Vex's hand shook as he looked at more files. The colony records showed families with small humans called children. The defense records showed that most of the human military had been away on training exercises. That's why the colony was so easy to attack. "Captain," Vex called out, his voice tight with fear. "What is it?" Vex replied, still looking at their captured creatures on the screen. "Captain, we need to talk. Right now." Vex could hear the panic in Vex's voice. He walked over to where Vex was standing. "What's wrong with you?" "We just made the biggest score of the year." Vex turned his screen toward the captain. "Look at these files, Captain. Look at what this colony was." Vex read the information. His face went from green to pale yellow as he understood what Vex was showing him. The colony was human? Vex asked. "Yes, Captain. And that creature in the cage. It's not just any rare species. It's a human child. The bridge went quiet. Even Krau stopped his excited talking and turned to listen. So what? Vex said, but his voice didn't sound sure anymore. It's just another alien species. We've raided lots of species before. Captain, you don't understand, Vex said. Humans don't think like other species. When someone takes their young, they don't just ask for them back. They don't pay money or make deals. They come with every ship they have and destroy everything in their path until they get their children back. Krau laughed nervously. Come on, Vex. Those are just stories. How dangerous can one primitive species be? Vex grabbed Krau's arm. Those stories are real. My cousin was part of a crew that accidentally killed a human trader. Just one human, not even a child. The human military tracked them for 3 years across 6 star systems. They destroyed every base that helped that crew. They never stopped hunting until every member was dead. But that's just one story, Vex said. No, Captain. There are dozens of stories. Hundreds. Pirates who thought they could raid human ships. Slave traders who captured human civilians. Criminal gangs who tried to ransom human prisoners. They all ended the same way. The humans kept coming until everyone involved was dead. Vex looked back at the screen showing Emma in her cage. The little girl was singing a quiet song to her toy dinosaur. She looked so small and helpless. How long before they notice she's gone? Vex asked. Captain, they probably already know. Human colonies are connected by something called the communication network. The moment that settlement was attacked, every human world would have gotten a message. And if they find out we have one of their children, Vex's voice was barely a whisper. Then we're all dead, Captain. Every single one of us. The bridge was silent except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Through the speakers, they could hear Emma's quiet voice as she sang a lullaby to her stuffed dinosaur. You fool, Vex said, his voice full of horror. You stole a human child. Now we all die. Gunnery Sergeant Carlos Rodriguez drove his military truck back to New Harmony Colony. He was tired after a long day of training exercises with his Marines. All he wanted was to pick up his daughter, Emma, from school and go home for dinner. But when he reached the town center, everything was wrong. Smoke rose from broken buildings. People ran around crying and shouting. Emergency vehicles flashed their lights everywhere. Carlos jumped out of his truck and ran toward the school. His heart pounded in his chest. Emma, he shouted. Emma, where are you? Mrs. Chun, Emma's teacher, saw him coming. Her face was covered in dirt, and her eyes were red from crying. Carlos, thank God you're here. Where's Emma? Carlos grabbed the teacher's shoulders. Where's my daughter? Mrs. Chun started crying harder. They took her, Carlos. The aliens took her. Carlos felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. What aliens? What happened here? Ships came from the sky. Big black ships. Creatures with guns came out. They looked like lizards walking on 2 legs. They grabbed Emma from the playground and took her away. Carlos looked around the destroyed playground. He could see blast marks on the swings where Emma liked to play. Alien weapon burns marked the ground. He had seen those marks before during his years as a Marine fighting in the outer colonies. How long ago? Carlos asked. 2 hours. Maybe 3. I called the colony defense force, but they don't know what to do. They said they've never seen ships like that before. Carlos pulled out his communication device. This is Gunnery Sergeant Rodriguez. I need an immediate connection to Fleet Command. Priority Alpha. The voice on the other end sounded confused. Sergeant, Priority Alpha is only for... They took my daughter, Carlos said, his voice hard as steel. Aliens took a human child. Connect me to Fleet Command right now. The line went quiet for a few seconds. Then a new voice came on. "Sergeant Rodriguez, this is Admiral Sarah Chun. I understand your daughter has been taken by hostile aliens. Tell me everything." Admiral Chun sat in her office on Earth, thousands of light years away from New Harmony. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. But when she heard Carlos describe the attack, her eyes became cold as space. "Sergeant, I need you to send me all the evidence you can find. Weapon signatures, ship engine traces, anything that can help us identify these aliens." "Yes, Admiral. But what are you going to do? My little girl is out there somewhere, scared and alone." Admiral Chun's voice became gentle. "Sergeant, I have a granddaughter Emma's age. I promise you, we will bring your daughter home, no matter what it costs." Carlos felt a little hope for the first time since he'd arrived. Admiral Chun was famous throughout the human military. They called her the Iron Lady because she never gave up on her people. After ending the call, Admiral Chun stood up and walked to her window. She could see Earth below, blue and peaceful. But her mind was already planning war. She pressed a button on her desk. "Get me the Joint Chiefs. Emergency meeting in 10 minutes." Within an hour, the most powerful military leaders in human space were sitting around Admiral Chun's table. The room was filled with tension. "Gentlemen and ladies," Admiral Chun began. 3 hours ago, unknown aliens attacked the colony of New Harmony. They kidnapped an 8-year-old human child named Emma Rodriguez. General Morrison, head of the Marine Corps, slammed his fist on the table. "They took a child? A human child? The evidence suggests the attackers were Zephyrian pirates," Admiral Chun continued. "We've been watching their activities in the Outer Rim, but they've never been foolish enough to attack human settlements before. Maybe they didn't know it was a human colony," suggested Admiral Park from the Navy. "It doesn't matter if they knew or not," Admiral Chun said. "They have one of our children. That changes everything." Fleet Admiral Jiang leaned forward. "What are you suggesting, Sarah?" Admiral Chun touched a control panel. The room's walls lit up with star maps showing human territory and beyond. "I'm suggesting we remind the galaxy why you don't touch human children." She pressed another button. Red dots appeared across the map, showing the locations of every human fleet. "I want every available ship redirected towards Zephyrian space. Every fleet, every battle group, every patrol ship. We're going to find that little girl, and we're going to make sure this never happens again." "Sarah," General Morrison said carefully, "that's almost our entire military force. If we pull ships from everywhere else, it leaves our colonies undefended." "General, what good are defended colonies if our children aren't safe? If we don't respond to this with everything we have, other species will think they can take our kids whenever they want." Admiral Chun stood up and looked at each officer around the table. "I'm authorizing Protocol 7. The room went completely quiet. Protocol 7 was something that had never been used before. It meant that protecting human children was more important than any other military goal. "Admiral," Fleet Admiral Jiang said slowly, "Protocol 7 means total war. Are you sure about this?" "Unsure. Send the message to every human ship in space. One of our children has been taken. All fleets converge." Meanwhile, on the colony of New Harmony, Carlos had found more evidence. The alien weapons had left energy signatures that his military scanner could identify. The ship engine traces showed the direction the attackers had gone. But more importantly, he had found something else. A small piece of fabric from Emma's school dress, caught on a piece of broken playground equipment. He held it in his hands and made a promise. "I'm coming, baby girl. Daddy's coming." Across human space, the largest military mobilization in human history began. Ships left their patrol routes, their guard duties, their peacekeeping missions. Every captain received the same simple message: child taken. All fleets converge. The alien governments that watched human space noticed the movement immediately. Their spies reported that human ships were moving in huge numbers toward the outer rim. On the diplomatic channels, questions were asked. What was happening? Was this some kind of invasion? Were the humans planning to attack someone? The human government's answer was simple: return our child, and our fleets will return home. Keep her, and learn why humans protect their young. In her cage aboard the Void Reaper, Emma hugged her stuffed dinosaur and tried not to cry. She missed her daddy. She missed her warm bed and her favorite books. She missed feeling safe. But she remembered what her daddy always said: Marines don't give up. She would be brave until he came for her, because she knew he was coming. Daddy always kept his promises. She just had to wait and be strong. Her daddy was a Marine, and Marines never left their people behind. Across the galaxy, alien governments watched their screens in growing fear. The humans were moving. Not just a few ships or a single fleet. Everything they had was heading toward one place. Ambassador Korvac of the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the Great Hall on Central Station. The mood was dark and worried. What do we know about human military movements? Korvac asked. The Altarian representative, a tall being with blue skin, spoke first. Our scouts report that every human battle fleet has left their normal positions. They're all moving toward the outer rim. How many ships are we talking about? Asked the Vorkan delegate. All of them, replied the Altarian. Every human warship in space is moving together. We count at least 3,000 vessels. A shocked silence filled the hall. 3,000 warships was enough to destroy entire star systems. This must be an invasion, said the Centauri ambassador. The humans are finally showing their true nature. They want to conquer us all. But the Altarian shook his head. No, our intelligence suggests this is about something else. Something involving their young. Their young? Korvac leaned forward. What do you mean? A human child was taken by pirates. The humans are responding as if it was an act of war. One child? The Vorkan delegate couldn't believe it. They're mobilizing their entire military for one child. You don't understand humans, said an old Draconian representative. I've studied them for years. They don't think like us. To them, every human child belongs to all humans. Attack one, and you attack them all. On the pirate ship Void Reaper, Captain Nex paced back and forth on his bridge. He had been trying to contact Zephyrian High Command for hours, but they wouldn't answer his calls. Finally, a message came through. The face of Admiral Grix, leader of the Zephyrian military, appeared on the screen. Captain Nex, Admiral Grix said coldly. I understand you have created a problem for us. Admiral, I can explain. We didn't know it was a human colony. We thought it was just another primitive settlement. That doesn't matter now, Captain. What matters is that you have brought the anger of humanity down on all of us. The human fleets are already entering our territory. Dex felt his stomach drop. What are your orders, Admiral? You are no longer a captain in the Zephyrian fleet. We cannot be connected to this incident. You and your crew are on your own. Admiral, please. We can fix this. We can return the child. But the screen had already gone dark. Admiral Grix had cut the connection. Vex, who had been listening to everything, shook his head sadly. They've abandoned us, Captain. We're completely alone. Don't call me Captain, Vex said bitterly. I'm not a captain of anything anymore. In the cargo hold, Emma had made an important discovery. In the cage next to hers was a small, furry creature that looked scared and hungry. It had big, sad eyes and kept making soft crying sounds. Emma recognized that sound. It was the same way she cried when she was scared. Hey, little one, Emma whispered through the bars. "Are you okay?" The creature looked at her with surprise. It made some chirping sounds that Emma didn't understand, but she could hear the sadness in its voice. Emma reached into her pocket and found a piece of candy she had been saving. She carefully pushed it through the bars to the other cage. The small creature sniffed the candy, then ate it quickly. For the first time since Emma had seen it, the creature stopped crying. "There you go," Emma said softly. "My daddy always says sharing makes everything better." Over the next few hours, Emma discovered there were many captured creatures in the cargo hold. Most of them were young, like her. She realized the pirates didn't just take adults. They took children from lots of different species. Emma started talking to all of them, even though they couldn't understand her words. But they could understand her kind voice and gentle actions. She shared her small amount of food with the hungriest ones. She sang quiet songs to comfort the scared ones. Slowly, the other young aliens began to trust her. They stopped crying as much. Some even started making happy sounds when they saw her. One of the Zephyrian guards noticed what was happening. His name was Skell, and he was younger than the other pirates. He watched Emma taking care of the other prisoners and felt confused. Why does she help them? Skell asked another guard. They're not even her own species. The other guard, an old pirate named Drex, just shrugged. Who knows? Aliens are strange. But Skell kept watching. He saw how Emma never kept food for herself if another creature was hungry. He saw how she tried to comfort every scared alien, even when she was scared too. "She's just a child," Skell said to himself. "And she's braver than most of the adult pirates I know." Meanwhile, the human fleets were getting closer. The first scout ships had already reached the edge of Zephyrian space. What they found there shocked even the experienced. Human commanders, the Zephyrians had abandoned their outer border stations. Entire military bases were empty. It was like the whole species was running away. Admiral Chun, leading the largest human battle group, studied the reports from her flagship. "They're scared," she told her staff officers. "The entire Zephyrian military is in full retreat." "Good," said General Rodriguez, Carlos's commanding officer. He had volunteered to join the rescue mission personally. "Maybe they'll just hand over the child and we can all go home." But Admiral Chun shook her head. "It won't be that easy, General. The pirates who took Emma aren't part of the official Zephyrian military anymore. They're on their own now. That makes them desperate. What does that mean for Emma? It means they have nothing left to lose. Desperate people do dangerous things." On the Void Reaper, Vex was beginning to understand just how desperate his situation had become. His own crew was starting to question his leadership. Some of them wanted to surrender to the humans immediately. Others wanted to kill the human child and try to escape. "We need to make a decision," Vex said, during an emergency crew meeting. "The human fleets will find us soon. What are we going to do?" Vex looked around at his crew's faces. He could see fear in every one of them. They all knew the stories about what happened to people who hurt human children. "We could space the child," suggested Crow. "If she's dead, maybe the humans will give up and go home." Several crew members nodded in agreement. But Skell, the young guard, stood up. "That's wrong," Skell said. "She's just a little girl. She hasn't hurt anyone. She's gonna get us all killed." Crow shouted back. "No," said Vex quietly. "Taking her is what's going to get us killed. The only question now is whether we die as murderers or just as thieves." Vex realized that his crew was about to tear itself apart. Half wanted to kill Emma to try to save themselves. The other half thought it would only make the humans angrier. "We're going to try to trade her," Vex decided. "We'll contact the human fleet and offer to return her in exchange for safe passage. You think they'll agree to that?" Vex asked. "They have to. What else can we do?" But Vex knew the truth. The humans weren't coming to make deals. They were coming for revenge. and nothing Vex could offer would stop them now. In her cage, Emma hugged her stuffed dinosaur and listened to the scared voices of the aliens around her. She didn't understand their words, but she knew they were arguing about her. "Don't worry," she whispered to her toy. "Daddy's coming. I can feel it." The human fleet moved through space like an angry storm. Admiral Chun stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching as her ships destroyed everything in their path. "Target acquired," reported Commander Lu from the weapons station. "Pirate base on the asteroid ahead." "Destroy it," Admiral Chun said without hesitation. The space station exploded in a ball of fire. Admiral Chun felt no satisfaction from its destruction. Every base they destroyed, every pirate ship they captured, brought them closer to finding Emma. "Admiral," called Lieutenant Park from communications, "we're receiving surrender offers from 3 different pirate groups." "What are they offering?" "They want to trade information about the Void Reaper for safe passage out of the system." Admiral Chun's eyes were cold as winter space. "Tell them that anyone who helps us find the child will live. Anyone who doesn't will burn with the rest." Behind them, the human fleet left a trail of destroyed bases and captured ships. The message was clear: give us back our child, or face total destruction. On nearby planets, alien civilians watched the news broadcasts in terror. The humans weren't just looking for their child. They were erasing every criminal organization in 3 star systems. "They've gone insane," said one Altarian news reporter. "The humans are destroying everything. Military bases, pirate hideouts, slave markets, even criminal space stations that had nothing to do with the kidnapping." But older aliens who remembered the early days of human contact shook their heads. "They're not insane," they said. "They're making sure this never happens again. After today, no one in the galaxy will dare touch a human child." On the Void Reaper, the crew was falling apart. Half of them wanted to surrender immediately. The other half wanted to fight or run. Arguments broke out every few minutes. "We should have spaced the human brat hours ago," shouted Crow. "Now look what's happening. They're burning everything." "Killing her won't help us now," Vex replied. "It will only make them angrier." Skel, the young guard, had been spending more time in the cargo hold. He watched Emma take care of the other prisoners and felt sick about what his crew had done. "Captain," Skel said when he returned to the bridge. "The human child. She's not what we expected." "What do you mean?" Vex asked. "She's taking care of all the other prisoners, sharing her food, comforting the scared ones. She's acting more like a crew member than a prisoner." Drax laughed bitterly. "Great, we stole a saint. That will really help when the human fleet finds us." Vex was about to respond when alarms started ringing all over the ship. Vex ran to his station and checked the long-range sensors. "Captain, I'm reading multiple human ships on an intercept course. They're 6 hours away and closing fast." Vex's hand shook as he looked at the sensor readings. "How many ships?" "I count 50. No, wait. 70 ships in the first group. And there are more groups behind them. 70 ships?" Krau's voice cracked. "For one small human?" "It's not about one human anymore," Vex said quietly. "It's about showing the galaxy what happens when you touch their young." Vex made a decision that would seal his fate. "Send a message to the human fleet. Tell them we have their child and we want to negotiate." "What terms?" Vex asked. "We give them the child. They let us go free." Vex stared at his captain. "They'll never agree to that." "They have to. What parent wouldn't trade anything to get their child back?" But when the human response came back, it was not what Vex expected. Admiral Chun's face appeared on their communication screen. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were filled with fire. "You have 30 minutes to release the child and surrender yourselves for judgment. If you refuse, we will destroy your ship." "Admiral," Vex said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Surely we can make a deal. I'm willing to return the child unharmed in exchange for safe passage." "You misunderstand your situation," Admiral Chun replied. "This is not a negotiation. This is your only chance to die quickly instead of slowly." Vex's fear turned to anger. "If you don't let us go, I'll kill the child." "I swear I will." The communication screen went dark. For a moment, the bridge was completely silent. Then Vex spoke in a voice full of horror. "Captain, what have you done?" "I showed them we mean business. Now they'll have to—" "You threatened to kill a human child," Vex interrupted. "In front of a human admiral. There's no coming back from that." Within minutes, the human fleet's response became clear. Admiral Chun's voice came over all communication channels in the system. "All ships, weapons free. No survivors." The words echoed through space like a death sentence. Every alien who heard them knew what they meant. The humans were no longer interested in capturing the pirates. They were going to destroy them all. On the Void Reaper, the crew finally broke apart. Some tried to get to escape pods. Others grabbed weapons and started fighting each other. The ship filled with the sounds of panic and violence. But in the cargo hold, something different was happening. Skell had come to check on the prisoners one more time before the ship was destroyed. "I'm sorry, little one," he said to Emma through the cage bars. "I'm sorry for what we did to you." Emma looked at the young alien guard. She could see sadness in his eyes, and she understood that he was different from the others. "You can help us," Emma said quietly. "What?" "You can help us get out." "All of us." Skell looked around at all the caged creatures. "Even if I let you out, where would you go? The ship is surrounded." Emma smiled, and for a moment she looked just like her father when he had a plan. "My daddy taught me about ships. All ships have emergency signals. If we can get to the bridge, we can call for help. The bridge is full of armed pirates." "Not if they're all fighting each other," Emma pointed out. Skell realized she was right. The crew was so busy panicking and fighting that no one was really guarding anything anymore. "You would trust me to help you?" "After what we did." Emma nodded. "My daddy says good people make bad choices sometimes, but they can also make good choices when it matters." Skell felt something he had never experienced before. For the first time in his life, someone believed he could be good. He opened Emma's cage, then started freeing all the other prisoners. "Stay close to me," he told them. "We're going to the bridge." Emma picked up her stuffed dinosaur and took the hand of a small Altarian child who had been crying in the next cage. "Come on, everyone. Let's go home." As they moved through the ship, more prisoners joined them. Some were young creatures like Emma. Others were adults who had been captured for the slave markets. All of them followed the 8-year-old human girl, who had shown them kindness when no one else would. They reached the bridge to find it almost empty. Most of the crew was either fighting in other parts of the ship or trying to escape in the remaining pods. Emma walked to the communication station like she belonged there. She had watched her father work on similar equipment many times during visits to the base. "Hello?" she said into the microphone. "Hello, can anyone hear me?" The response came immediately. "This is Admiral Chun of the human fleet." "Who is this?" Emma's voice was small but brave. "This is Emma Rodriguez." "I'm okay. I made some friends." The relief in Admiral Chun's voice was clear to everyone who heard it. "Emma, sweetheart, are you hurt?" "No, ma'am. The bad aliens are fighting each other now. But there's a nice alien named Skell who helped us escape. And there are lots of other kids here who want to go home, too." "Emma, can you tell me how many hostile aliens are still on that ship?" Emma looked around the bridge. Through the windows, she could see escape pods launching into space. Most of them are leaving Admiral, but some are still fighting. "Good girl. Now listen carefully. You and your friends need to stay on the bridge and wait for us. We're coming to get you." Emma hugged her stuffed dinosaur tighter. "Yes, ma'am." "Will you tell my daddy I was brave?" "I'll tell him myself, sweetheart. You've been the bravest little Marine I've ever met." As Emma waited for rescue, she looked around at all the creatures she had helped free. They were from different worlds, different species, but they all had one thing in common now. They were all going home because a little human girl had refused to give up hope. The human rescue ship surrounded the Void Reaper like protective angels. Admiral Chun personally led the boarding party, her heart pounding as she moved through the damaged pirate vessel. The ship's corridors were filled with smoke and debris from the fighting between crew members. Many of the pirates had escaped in pods, but some remained, cowering in hiding spots throughout the ship. Admiral Chun reached the bridge to find Emma sitting in the captain's chair, surrounded by freed prisoners of many different species. The little girl still held her stuffed dinosaur, but her eyes looked older than they had before. "Emma?" Admiral Chun said softly. Emma looked up and smiled. "Are you Admiral Chun? You sound just like you did on the radio." "Yes, sweetheart. I'm here to take you home." Emma stood up and walked over to the Admiral. But instead of running into her arms, she stopped and pointed to Skell, who was standing nervously near the wall. "Admiral, this is Skell. He helped us escape. He's one of the good ones." Admiral Chun looked at the young Zephyrian. She could see fear in his eyes, but also something else: shame, regret, the look of someone who knew he had done wrong and wanted to make it right. "Is this true?" Admiral Chun asked Emma. "He helped you?" Emma nodded seriously. "He freed all of us from our cages. And he protected the little ones when the other pirates were being scary." Admiral Chun studied Skell for a long moment. "What's your name, soldier?" "Skell, ma'am. I was a guard on this ship." "Were you involved in taking this child from her home?" Skell's shoulders sagged. "Yes, ma'am. I was there. I didn't stop them, but you helped her escape?" She showed me what we had really done. We didn't just take prisoners. We took children from their families. I couldn't let that continue." Admiral Chun made a decision that would surprise everyone in the galaxy. "Skell, you will come with us. Not as a prisoner, but as a witness. Your testimony will help us understand how this happened and how to prevent it in the future." Emma smiled and took Skell's hand. "I told you good people can make good choices." The other freed prisoners were taken to the medical bay. Humans, doctors, and nurses worked alongside alien medical specialists to help creatures from dozens of different worlds. Many were children who had been separated from their families for weeks or months. Emma insisted on visiting every one of them before she saw her own father. "Daddy taught me that Marines take care of their people," she explained to Admiral Chun. "These are my people now." In the ship's brig, the remaining pirates who had been captured faced human justice. Vex, the former captain, sat in a cell and realized his life was over. The humans had video evidence of him threatening to kill Emma. No court in the galaxy would show him mercy, but Emma surprised everyone again when she asked to speak to him. "Why do you want to see him?" Admiral Chun asked. "Because I need to understand," Emma said. "My daddy says understanding your enemy is important." Admiral Chun was reluctant, but Emma's determination reminded her of every stubborn Marine she had ever known. 5 minutes. I'll be right there with you." Emma stood outside Dex's cell and looked at the alien who had caused so much fear and pain. He was smaller than she remembered, and he looked tired and defeated. "Why did you take me?" Emma asked. Dex looked at the small human child and felt ashamed. We thought you were just another alien we could sell. But I'm not just another alien. I'm someone's daughter. Just like all those other kids you took are someone's children." "I know that now," Dex said quietly. "Do you have children?" Emma asked. Dex nodded. 2 sons. Back on Zephyria, Do you love them? More than anything. Emma was quiet for a moment. Then you understand why my daddy came for me. And why all those other families want their children back too. Dex couldn't meet her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I forgive you, Emma said. But sorry doesn't fix what you broke. You have to help fix it. How? Emma looked at Admiral Chung, then back at Dex. Tell the Admiral everything you know about the other pirates. Help her find all the other children and bring them home to their families. 2 weeks later, Emma was finally reunited with her father on the human colony of New Harmony. Carlos Rodriguez ran across the landing field and swept his daughter up in a bear hug that lasted for 5 full minutes. I was so scared. Baby girl, he whispered into her hair. I know, Daddy, but I remember what you taught me. I was brave, and I took care of the others. Carlos looked at his daughter and realized she had changed. She was still his little girl, but she had also become something more. A leader, a protector, someone who understood that being strong meant helping others who were weak. I'm proud of you. Emma, you showed the whole galaxy what humans are really like. The rescue of Emma Rodriguez became famous throughout known space. But it wasn't just the massive human military response that aliens remembered. It was the story of a little girl who had refused to let fear break her spirit. 6 months later, the Galactic Council passed new laws. The Universal Child Protection Act made taking children from any species a crime punishable by the combined forces of all member worlds. The act was nicknamed Emma's Law by the media. Skell was given a new job working for the Council's Child Recovery Division. His knowledge of pirate operations and his guilt over his past actions made him one of the most effective investigators in the galaxy. The other children who had been freed from the Void Reaper were all returned to their families. Many of their parents sent letters to Emma, thanking her for taking care of their little ones during the darkest time of their lives. 1 year after the kidnapping, a small Eltarian named Zix came to visit Emma on New Harmony. Zix's parents had been killed by pirates, and the Eltarian government had no relatives to care for the child. Emma helped me when I was scared, Zix explained through a translator. She shared her food and sang songs to make me feel better. I want to stay with her family. Admiral Chun, who had retired from military service to become the first director of the Universal Child Protection Agency, personally approved the adoption. Emma has taught us all that family isn't just about species or biology. It's about love and protection and never giving up on each other. Emma's room now had 2 beds, and her toy collection included stuffed animals from a dozen different worlds. She learned to speak Altarian so she could talk to Zix without a translator. Zix learned human games and helped Emma with her homework. On the 2nd anniversary of her kidnapping, Emma stood in the rebuilt playground of New Harmony. The same swings where she had been taken now had a small memorial plaque. It read, "In memory of all children taken from their families. May they all find their way home." Emma was no longer the same 8-year-old girl who had been playing on these swings 2 years ago. She was 10 now, taller and more serious. But she still carried her stuffed dinosaur, and she still believed in the power of kindness. Zix played on the swings nearby, laughing in the universal language of childhood joy. Above them, human patrol ships moved across the sky, a reminder that some promises are kept with the strength of entire civilizations. Emma looked up at the ships and smiled. She knew her father was out there somewhere, probably on one of those ships, making sure no other children would go through what she had experienced. "Come on, Zix," she called to her adopted sibling. "Race you to the monkey bars." As the 2 children ran across the playground together, Emma Rodriguez Chun carried with her the knowledge that she had changed the galaxy not through weapons or threats, but through the simple act of refusing to let darkness win. And in the vast reaches of space, pirates and criminals whispered warnings to each other. Never touch the human children. Never forget what happens when you make humanity choose between peace and their young. The humans had made their choice clear. They would always choose their children.